Good afternoon. My name is Bonna Heinzen from the Cook County Farm Bureau, and I'm joined by Teresa Johnston with the MWRD. And we're going to take just a couple of minutes to talk about an innovative program that we have locally here in Cook County with the EQ Biosolids and EQ Compost. And Teresa, can you start us off by letting us know what these are and how somebody would be able to get some products for their own garden or their farm or even a park district?
Yes, I would love to. So first of all, biosolids are the organic matter remaining after everything goes through the wastewater treatment process. A lot of people mistake this for being poop. It is not. If you think about when you eat something, that's carbon, and when it comes out, it's a completely different form. This is the same way. Bacteria are eating everything that came through that wastewater, all that solid organic matter, and that resulting material, the biosolids, are actually the waste products and dead bodies of those microorganisms. So that's really that new form of organic carbon. So we're not putting poop out on anybody's lawns or fields or anything like that. This is a very high quality organic soil amendment. So it contains a lot of carbon and nitrogen and phosphorus and a lot of micronutrients as well that really help promote soil health. And we can get this out to the Cook County area through a few processes. Either if you're interested in picking up a bulk order, you can come right out to our facilities and we can load a bulk order into anything larger than a pickup truck. So a pickup truck, we're afraid of any damage with our equipment. So if you have a dump truck or anything larger, we can fill you up with either our EQ compost, which is biosolids that have been composted with wood chips at a 3 parts wood chips to 1 part biosolids. And it's a very high quality compost. We also have the air dried material, which has been aged and air dried in the sun. It has sat there for enough time that it's processed, and now this high quality soil amendment as well. And that we typically use for our agricultural fields or top dressing athletic fields or creating new turf grass areas, rather than the compost is typically more for garden beds and use as tree establishment and purposes such as that. Another way to get the materials is to go onto our website, mwrd.org. If you go to our services, you can choose either biosolids or EQ compost, and there's an order form, and we can have large orders delivered within Cook County. So for municipalities, we can deliver that EQ compost directly to parks or sites that you need it. For the EQ air dried, we can deliver that to homes, athletic fields, farms, any place that really needs that larger load of that material. If you need a smaller quantity of compost, we have our bulk pickup piles outside of all of our plants. So the Stickney plant is on Pershing Road in Stickney, Illinois. We have 5 other plants that also have this material outside. And you can go onto our website again, look under the the EQ compost tab. And this has all of the locations with a specific map to show you the location of those piles. And as long as we have compost available, those materials are out there in front of the plants, but it is a first come, first serve basis. It's an extremely popular program. So we have had truckloads dumped outside the Stickney plant, and within 2 days, it's completely gone. There have been days that people have called in and said, when is the next pile getting delivered? And our maintenance and operations said, well, we delivered this morning, and it's gone by the end of the day. So it is a really popular program because it's such high quality material, and it is used in gardens throughout the Chicago area.
Wonderful. And we'll include at the end of this the links for the services, and including the biosolids and the compost off of MWRD's website will be at the end of this presentation. Now, one thing I just want to ask you about is, what about safety? I mean, we hear questions about it, and I'm assuming these products are absolutely safe to use, but I was wondering if you can tell us more about that.
I would love to. This is a very safe product. I think a lot of the concerns about safety stem from historic use of sewage sludge, which was not really regulated earlier in the 20th century. We now have the US EPA's Part 503 regulation. The US EPA did a very thorough risk assessment looking at about 400 different chemicals and contaminants that could potentially be in our wastewater and get into biosolids. And they looked at the concentration that might be in there, the effects that it could have on human health. And what they came down to was only about 20 chemicals that are in biosolids at a high enough concentration or pose any kind of risk to human health that they are regulating. The others are at such minuscule or non-detectable concentrations, or they don't have any harm on human health that they don't need to be regulated. These regulated chemicals or contaminants are measured regularly in our materials, and then we have to report that to the US EPA. And we routinely are far below those standards. So for example, with heavy metals, that's one thing that some people show concern with. Oftentimes we're a whole order of magnitude below what that limit is. And so this material is as safe as using any other type of compost or soil amendment. The US EPA approves it for any type of use, including vegetable gardens and growing your own vegetation in. That risk assessment looked at it was very conservative. It looked at the most sensitive populations and ages. So they're looking at if a toddler is going out and putting this material into their mouths and consuming it for much of the year, or if somebody with a garden is eating at least 59% of their produce directly from their garden every year, then what is their exposure? And so they really did this thorough job to make sure that this material is safe and that area can be immediately used once it's applied.
That's excellent. So I know right now it's early in the spring and people are starting to think about their gardens, they're starting to think about what they're going to plant. And I know that it's difficult as early as it is, but approximately when do the materials become available? Where should people pay attention to see if they are available?
So the compost is typically available around mid-April. It is very much weather dependent. So if we have a very cold, wet spring, it may delay availability of the materials. If we have a very warm, dry spring, it may move up availability. But on average, we're about mid-April that compost is available. And then toward the end of May that the air dried material is available. And I'm sorry, can you follow up the rest of the, oh, where can we pay attention? I'm sorry. We will have updates on our website at mwrd.org that will announce when materials are available. We also have a Windy City Compost and Biosolids newsletter that comes out once per quarter, and that keeps updates on if the material is available as well. And you can always check in on that website just to see if there are announcements such as material is out and available, you can order now, or if it's closed for the season.
Wonderful. And now just kind of thinking about it, I know you talked in the beginning about applications for the compost or the biosolids, but can you go over like our urban gardeners, what they may be interested in compared to our traditional farmers, what they may be interested in?
Of course. So urban gardeners, if you have your garden in a residential area, we typically recommend using our EQ compost. This material can be mixed about 50-50 with any kind of soil. And this provides a lot of organic material so that you can improve that microbial population that's going to provide a lot of soil health. It's very slowly releasing nutrients so that you don't have to worry as much about amending your soil with other types of fertilizers. You can cut back on those because this is just a prolonged release of both macro and micronutrients. And you can do this in raised beds. You could also do it directly into an in-ground garden bed. If you just want to mix that into that top 6 inches, I would recommend about 2 to 3 inches of compost for that top 6 inches. And same thing with raised bed, about 50-50 to maybe 30% compost to 70% soil. For urban for urban agriculture, I recommend the air dried material. This can be spread easily using a manure spreader or a tiger spreader. And this has both organic matter as well as macro and micronutrients. And so instead of just adding a lot of high concentrated nutrients that could run off and impair waterways or just be a waste of material onto your farm fields, this is a slow release, and it's promoting those microbial communities that help maintain soil health. It also helps with water retention and drainage at the same time because it's improving your soil structure. And by adding this material onto your fields, you can continue to grow a lot of crops that are currently being grown. For example, kale and cabbage yield rates have been proven to be nearly 3 times higher than synthetic fertilizer when they were using EQ compost. And there were no health effects or impairments. If you're still thinking about that safety side, this was done in Virginia, and they just found these incredibly high rates with some of these crops using EQ biosolids. It's also been grown with tomatoes, squash, beans, corn, cauliflower, soybeans. So whatever your crop is, this really can benefit the growth and the yield.
Wonderful. Thank you, Teresa, for talking to us. And we will have a link available to the services. And then working with MWRD, we will keep members updated regarding availability and opportunities. But I want to say thank you for taking a few minutes to talk to us, and we'll see you at those plants, grabbing some compost individually and everything. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Let me know if there are any questions.